Hey guys, ohSchnapp here. I wanted to follow up on the video that I did last week asking if you guys wanted to see the pivot points that I use when I race, the things that I actually look at when I go around corners, because that's been something that has helped me, no joke, double my times going around tracks. Double them in a good way, not twice as long, but twice as short. It's something that when it finally clicked, it was like, oh my God, why haven't I been doing this for longer? And, it's something that helps me sufficiently increase my speed each and every time I go out and practice racing, and it keeps getting faster and faster. And this is really kind of like a key unlocking something for me. And I'm happy to share it with you guys and show you guys kind of how I look at a track and how I suggest to look at it to go around it the fastest possible. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the video from last week, but with the pivot points that I look at. Then we're going to look at a video breaking down kind of what a pivot point is and how it pertains to the quad's orientation. And then finally, we're going to look at a new video by MinChan that's just like, of course, ungodly fast. He keeps getting faster and faster, but we're going to try and ascertain what pivot points he uses and just what things he possibly looks at, on a frame by frame basis, because we really got to slow it down to examine it. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the shots. So talking about this one right here, starting from the beginning, we've got this pink circle here, which is basically what I look at. All right. And so you can see what I'm doing is when I go around corners, I'm looking at the center of the corner. So basically, if you look at the bottom of the ground, notice that on this side of the flag, the ground is going that way. And on this side of the flag, the left side, the ground is spinning this way. And so it really looks like I'm orbiting around this flag right now. And then when I transition into the other side, I'm looking at this flag, and I'm not trying to aim as if I'm going through this gate. If you try and aim in the center of the gate when you go through it, you're going to actually end up in the pole. So you want to be aiming actually around the gate. And the reason why this is important is because you have to think about flying quads in terms of a constant power slide on a motorcycle. You've got an F1 Formula One car going as fast as it can with tons of grip, but at the same time you're power sliding, power drifting around every corner. So you want to really pretend like you're attached at a string, spinning around that pole. So I'm going to play the rest of this full speed, and you can just watch how this pink circle flies around. And notice it's always on the flag right there. It's at that top section. It's on that pole of the dive gate, pole there, the tree. These are all these points that I'm looking at. And notice this corkscrew right here. I'll replay it real quick on that because it's a pretty interesting one right there. When we go to the corkscrew, the aim pivot point is the top left of the first gate, and then it's the bar. So as I'm passing through, it's constantly the bar. And see, notice that instead of a pole in the ground, this is the pivot point now. It's that upper bar. So looking at that top bar, see, I'm kind of keeping it right around the top there. Now it's kind of gone down to this column, and you can really tell that I'm spinning around that column as it goes back and forward. So again, going forward, now my pivot point becomes this horizontal bar right here. You can see that's where I'm aiming, and then it shifts over to the right there, but then goes back to pivot right around this branch right here because I don't want to hit that, right? So I'm looking at that, but that is kind of transitioning into this tree right here so that I carve. You can see that little bit of the quad right there, how it's turning to the left right there. As I approach that tree, I'm carving to the left so that I get out here to hit this corner in terms of wide, inside, outside, so kind of like NASCAR style where it's outside, inside, outside. Lost video there for a second. And we go around that top bar again, that top angle right there. Again to the flag, top of the gate. The dive gate is pretty interesting because it's always this top section of the cube. and then it kind of slides down this pole, and then we whip around there. So the pivot point is there, pivot point is this top gate for a second, then it slides over, and then we swing back to the left. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just play the rest of this video, and you can see, so top bar again, swing around, that side pull, horizontal bar, switch over to the right, tree, flag, top bar, pull, top right section of the cube, drop down, flag, tree. All right, perfect. So that was a little bit quick. We can just like watch that again, you know, just so we have one whole pass of it. So that tree, that flag, and noticing it's staying on that top bar. So it's basically like I'm swinging around, you know, and imagine that you're throwing out a lasso to the thing that you want to stay attached to, and you're constantly flying around it. You know, you're not really going around the track. You're attaching yourself to something and then using the centripetal force to swing around it. Now, this isn't, you know, my quad this is basically what I'm looking at. These targets, these aren't actually my quad orientation, and I'll talk a little bit about that right now. And so I'll go ahead and pause this right now. Let's go ahead and X that out of that. Okay, so these are what I meant by pivot points, okay? So I'm just flying along here, right? Let's just go ahead and take off. And so moving around this pyramid right here, okay, we've got, this is my pivot point, because you can tell, like, you know, if there's a pole right here on this pyramid, you can see I'm pivoting around it. And my quad is oriented in front of the triangle. You know, if I speed this up, it looks like we're orbiting perfectly around the triangle, but my quad center is actually here. The orientation is in front of what I'm pivoting it around. And that's very important, because this is the majority of the way that you race, with your quad in front of the pivot point. You know, if you're going around a flag, you're going to swing around in front of it. Now, with freestyle, sometimes you put the quad orientation behind. And so you can see I've slightly rolled the quad right here, and now my pivot point is behind. Or sorry, my pivot point is still there, but my orientation point is behind. So notice that when I hit play, the center of the quad is actually here, and that's because I'm dipping the quad, I'm rolling it right there. And so I'll roll it back right there. So now I'm going forward. This is pretty standard racing, and then I'll roll it around to where I'm going backward. So wait for it. And boom, now it's on the other side of my pivot point. So this is important just to know where kind of your orientation should be when you're trying to go around things, go around obstacles. Now I kind of illustrate this with these obstacles right here. So this is a really good practice technique when you're first learning. Notice my throttle is right around 34. It's not changing at all. So I'm only using yaw, roll, and pitch to control stuff. And I'm constantly picking an object to go around, which happens to be the side of this gate. I'll run back. So I do about 3 times going through this side of the gate right there. And I'm not trying to get as tight as possible. I'm just trying to swing through that area. And then once I feel comfortable with that, then I'm picking my next pivot point, which I believe on the next one, there we go, it'll be this point right there, that side of the gate. And so now I'm kind of alternating them. So again, this gate flag there, now this gate flag or gate side right there like that. And that's kind of the idea when you do these corkscrew maneuvers, you know. So right there, I almost went to a corkscrew. You know, you saw, like, instead of doing stuff horizontally, you start to integrate altitude into it. So when I go around there, you can see I integrate altitude right there. So like so when you want to learn these corkscrew things, it's it's a good idea to practice them only horizontal without taking into account gravity and throttle with it, and just kind of go around these things horizontally like that. And then, you know, once you get comfortable with that, then start to integrate that flip over, that corkscrew maneuver. Cool. So then the last thing that we can look at is just a lap of MinChan. And this is crazy fast, you know, like he's going almost too fast to tell what's going on. But when he's going this fast, you know, and most of his videos are like this, but when he's going this fast, take a look at his ladders. You know, if I hold my mouse here and hit play, it's almost like the ladder doesn't even move. You know, I can keep it almost right there. See that? The ladder basically stayed, you know, if I use the arrow keys, his pivot points are so good. You know, his pivot point is right in front of the pole right there. He's locked into it, or sorry, his aim point, his orientation point is right in front of the pole, but his pivot point does not change from right here. Look how that stays right locked into the frame, you know? And then when he switches over, this is now the pivot point. This is because, sorry, it's right here, and then it's going to slide along this bar. So watch. So it's right here now, sliding, 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 the outside. And because it's the outside, he can yaw spin into this gate right there and swing right on. See, this is the pivot point. If his pivot point was up here, he would have hit the top bar like that because the quad is swinging to the left. And so because of that, he needs to have his pivot point lower. Look at this. So he angles up. Now the pivot point is this gate right here. And let's watch him do the corkscrew. So he comes in. That's the pivot point. Then it rotates along this. Look how he orients it. So he's always looking at what he's pivoting. And see, so the pivot point is sliding up this, up this. Now it's right here, up there, and continues along. Now it's going to be the flag. Now it's this flag. So and right there, and then through it. So I'll go ahead and play this at full speed. Because I mean, you almost need to slow it down to break it down, but it's impressive and just kind of a thrill to watch when you watch it at full speed. But you know, his ladders are amazing. All of his flying is amazing. But you know, you could really tell the pivot points when he flies because he's so locked in, and you know, just those rotations are so perfectly smooth. So that's really what you want to aim for. You want to like get your pivot points down. You want to be aware of your orientation, and you want to always aim for the inside thing as your the inside pole that you're going around. You don't want to aim for the hole you're going through because you're going to slide into the outside of the gate. That's the biggest mistake that I see new pilots make, is they aim for the center hole like they're driving through it, because that's what you do when you drive cars. You aim for what you're driving into, right? You know, you're going to grip around, but in quads you actually power slide drift around and pull yourself around. So you need to make sure you pull yourself through the hole, meaning you need to aim in front of the hole, not at the actual hole. So that's those are the main tips and techniques that I use for you know, flying through courses and pivot points and things that have really helped me increase my speed as well as decrease my lap times. If you guys have any other tips and techniques, I'd love to hear them. Let me know in the comments below.